Hello everyone. Let me get seated here. Oh, it's good to finally be here. I've actually been looking forward to tea time today for quite a while. Let me know if you guys can hear me fine and everything. I know sometimes I come onto these live streams and there's some kind of technical difficulty or something. So let me just get to my channel so I can check the comments. That. The sound you are hearing is the kettle heating up the water. Let's see here. All right, so we have Sniper, hello. K4RNA says, can't wait to taste the crumpets. They turned out amazingly, by the way. I rarely ever, cook the crumpets, you know. It's not very difficult. It's just that, I don't know, I guess it's more time consuming, but it's always a treat when I do. Isaiah Rodriguez says, what do you think of tugs? Like the tugboats? They're okay. I don't have any particular interest in tugboats, but I think there's been one or two that I think are kind of historical and kind of neat. Like there's one that's near Liverpool that is Art Deco on the inside, and that's because it was built in the 1910s, and eventually, years later, when the owner had visited the Queen, he happened to be one of the people that got to visit aboard the Queen Mary, the original Queen Mary, because they did a tour prior to her maiden voyage. They always do that with Cunard ships. And so, and he liked the Art Deco interiors so much that he hired, I think, one of the original Art Deco interior designers to redesign the interior of his tugboat. And that tugboat still exists today near Liverpool. I don't remember exactly where. Yeah, it still has its Art Deco interiors. Tyler says, just had dinner and stuff like a Thanksgiving turkey. Hello, Alex. Have a tidbit to tell you. Awesome. Let me know what it is. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Years of Seas. Hello, Moonzer. Moonzer says, hi, Alex. I have a question. Have you been to the RMS Queen Mary's Sir Winston restaurant? No, because the one time my friends and I were going to go, it was a weekend, and the Sir Winston restaurant was not open. At the time, the ship was not being very well taken care of, and they had cut back severely on staffing and everything, so the Sir Winston restaurant was not open when we went. We were so looking forward to having dinner there. But my friend did show me the food at Sir Winston's. As a chef, I was not that impressed, I have to say. I've seen better. It's not terrible, and it's certainly better than eating a hamburger. But, yeah, I've seen the pictures that he showed me of his food, because he was so excited to show me, what he ate and stuff, and he showed me and goes, oh, now that I look back on it, it doesn't look that appetizing. I'm like, So that's probably a reflection of the owners of the property at the time. There's a rumbling happening. Is that all from the... That can't be all from the water causing the whole table to rumble. Let's see. Jeffrey says, hello, we can hear you. I can see I gotta refresh the chat because it's not keeping up with people's comments. Let's see. Matt says, hi, Alex. Good to see you again. What time day is it on your side? So right now it is 4:04 p.m. Where I am. So I heard that tea time is often at, between the hours of 4 and 5. And so I always do tea time around 4. Except for Sundays. If I do a tea time on Sunday, I'll start it at 3:30 just to kind of give some extra space between my live stream and the one that Historic Travels does. Tyler says, hear you clear as Queen Mary's whistle. Awesome, thank you. J. Rod says, hello, Alex. What is the Queen Mary yard number? Queen Mary's yard number is 534. So that is the hull number, job number, yard number. 534. Alright, so we're going to preheat our teapot and teacup because they're made of real china. For those that are new, these are authentic vintage china from the RMS Queen Mary and RMS Queen Elizabeth. And because it's authentic china, you can't just pour boiling water straight into it without, slowly bringing up the temperature. So I've already added my hottest tap water in the cups. I've drained them about halfway, and I'm topping it off with boiling water again, just to bring them further up to temperature. And in a minute or two, I will pour in straight boiling water. Let's see here. Ron says, hi Alex, watch the Queen Mary repair update. Thanks, you're welcome. The professor's here. Hello, Professor Ismail. Delta says, what company is your Forney made by? So the Forney is made by a company called Bachmann. They make ON30 scale Forney, well, they used to make ON30 scale Forney type engines. They are rare now. They're pretty rare. So I've tried finding a second one, and you can find them on eBay, but sometimes people will blow the price way out of, oh my gosh, I've seen prices for it going up to $300-400 just for a Forney engine like this. They're nice engines, but when you own one, they're not worth $400. They're really more like at most a $180 engine at most. They're really not worth $400, but they are really, really nice. So, but they're just rare because they don't make them anymore. Let's see. Daniel says, Alex, have you heard of Appleton Hall? It is one of the oldest surviving tugboats, and it is the only tugboat to cross the Atlantic and around Cape Horn. I have heard of Appleton Hall, actually. Hello, Braden. Ozzy says, how is your weather today? It's okay. The temperature is, at a high, which is 41 degrees, just about 41 degrees Fahrenheit. That is actually pretty warm for the temperature we've had lately. We've been having temperatures ranging in the mid-20s Fahrenheit to the mid-30s Fahrenheit. In fact, for many days in a row, we were getting snow. In fact, we had some really crazy snow just dumped on the city of Portland just the other day. It took us completely by surprise. I don't remember what day it was, but it's all over the news if you type it up. But that day, Portland was not expected to really get snow. They said if you do get snow, it won't stick to the ground. It's just not cold enough. They thought that if it snowed that day, it would happen at least 500-foot elevation or higher. But then, I got a text from my father. He said, it's snowing in Portland. I was like, what? I looked, and in fact, it was snowing in Portland. And then the flakes got bigger and bigger and bigger until it was really coming down. The city had no idea. They had been ready to send out a couple of snow plows and some de-icing trucks, but they didn't quite expect how many that they would have to bring out. Because a lot of times in Portland, the weather's very volatile. So you might start getting snow and you expect to have, a couple inches of snow suddenly come down. Then all of a sudden there's nothing. You get clear skies. So they really weren't expecting it. And what ended up happening is people, like my father, got stuck in traffic for several hours. A trip that normally takes my father about 10 minutes to get home took him 5 hours. He was literally stuck in this one area. He was just getting from one block to the next, and it took him 3 hours to do that. everything was just clogged. There was no way to get the snow plows onto the freeways or the roads to clear the roads, and ice was building up, and it was cars were spinning out. I remember my dad showed me pictures as he's going down the freeway at, less than 10 miles an hour. He's weaving through huge piles of cars that had just, spun out in the ice and piled up. It was like Armageddon, quite literally. It was pretty bad. I was looking on, all kinds of maps to figure out the best way for him to get home, and it was just not working out. It was complete chaos. Many people had to abandon their cars on the side of the road. All the cars I was just talking about on the freeway, they were all abandoned because people had to get to safety, to shelter, to warmth. And it was pretty bad. It was really, really bad. And so we've had snow since then, but nothing that's built up layers. I think that night, they were expecting a maximum of 1 inch of snow that night. They got 11 inches of snow. So that shows you how off guard everybody was taken. None of the meteorologists could have predicted it. They didn't. So that was pretty crazy. Let me get back to the comments here. Moonzer says, Alex, my grandma told me about when she sailed the SS Norway. She was at the house last weekend. I think you know this, but the SS Norway was originally the SS France, and my grandma also seen the QE2. Awesome. Yes, I do know about that, but that is pretty cool to have a family member that sailed on one of those ships. Jeffrey says, do you think you will go to the Queen Mary first or the QE2 sailing first? I think you meant the QM2 sailing. My hope is to go to the Queen Mary first, because I really, really, really need to get some new footage for more videos. Because I want to make more Queen Mary videos, but they're very specific videos, and I really need the footage to make those videos. So, yeah, my hope is that I can go to the Queen Mary first. I plan to spend about maybe 4, maybe 5 nights in the hotel of the Queen Mary. But the thing is that takes money, and I'm currently saving up money. I've been saving up money for the Queen Mary 2 trip, which has not been easy. I don't earn that much money to begin with, but I'm trying. I'm doing the best I can, because I would really like to go back to the Queen Mary, get that footage, explore the ship. But if I do go to the Queen Mary, I'm probably not going to go till probably summer, if anything, because I want to be able to explore the majority of the ship when it's fully open. That includes the hotel room levels, because I was telling people in my recent Queen Mary construction update that it's possible they might revert to an old rule they used to have at Queen Mary Hotel, which was that the hotel levels, the parts with the rooms, which is main deck, A deck, B deck, that those levels used to only be accessible to hotel guests. Now, it's not like people were missing anything. They were just the levels with all the hotel rooms. But nevertheless, only hotel guests could go to those levels. That way, nobody was disturbed, because today, or not today, but in 2020, when I was there, you could walk anywhere, and people would run around the hallways. Kids would, run down the hallways and create all this noise. And late at night, there would be ghost hunters, people knocking on doors and stuff, hoping to get some kind of sound or whatever. A lot of them were YouTubers who were planting evidence, so they would pound on a wall or something while the camera wasn't looking at it, and the next thing you know, you're waking up all these hotel guests. That became one of the top complaints during the final years of the Queen Mary's hotel operation a couple years back. Was late at night the ghost hunters bothering them. So, okay, let's go ahead and we're gonna add the tea to the thing. I'm gonna wait till we get to 4:15 exactly. That way I know at 4:20 the tea will be ready. Well, I know it'll be at 4:19, but I'm waiting for the clock to get to a even number, to a new minute. It's pretty hot. So today we're having Earl Grey tea, my favorite tea. There we go. In it goes. And then we'll see it in 5 minutes. Okay. Matt says, perfect, 11:05 a.m. my side in Australia. You're part of my late breakfast routine. Was your authentic Queen Mary china pieces expensive? Mine, it depends on what you consider expensive. For me, it was expensive, but I got them at a really good deal because I was very, very patient. I did it. I collected the pieces over a course of several months, I think 4 months. But I was really, really patient. And I waited till people would, post a piece that they didn't really know its worth, and they would post it at incredibly low prices. So, for instance, I got... No, wait, hold on. Yeah, I got that right. I got this little sugar bowl and this little creamer for $30. Each of these could go for $30 to $50 each. So I got 2 of them for $30 total. That was pretty good. And then these 3 back here, it's a large creamer, a large sugar bowl, and a teapot, which unfortunately the last owner did not take good care of this, and they cracked it by just having a cold teapot poured boiling water right into it. But all 3 of those I got for $130, which normally this teapot alone would be $130. The creamer has sold for $75. The large sugar bowl has sold for $60 to $75. So, as you can see, I wait for really good deals. I'm trying to think of what the cheapest thing I got was. I don't know, but one thing that was really upsetting was buying some of the stuff and realizing it was cracked because someone didn't know how to take care of it. So this teacup, I can't really use this teacup, in conjunction with this one. I can't just go back and forth using both because this one has a crack through it from just overly hot water going through it. And I do use this teacup when I have friends over. So you've probably seen a while ago I had friends over. But then I'll use this teacup because this stuff existed before the 1970s, so the likelihood of there being lead inside the materials of the teacup is highly likely. The colors are probably full of lead. So, yeah. So I try not to drink from the broken stuff. I drink from the stuff that's not broken. But yeah, but altogether it was a lot of money. Years of Seas is originally Ryan Lorio. Okay, I'll try to remember that. Years of Seas is Ryan. Braden Edwards says, I made a big Lego ship and I named it RMS Alex. Awesome, that's pretty cool. Was it because of me? Did you name it after me? Moonzer, how's it going? Alex, have you ever thought about doing a video on the SS France? Yes, but not the SS France from 1960. More like the SS France from 1920? I forget what year. But the earlier one. I'm not that big a fan of ocean liners, that were created after World War II. The only 2 ocean liners that I like that were created after World War II is the QE2 and the Queen Mary 2. Delta says, do you like European steam engines? I'm very fond of the Dutch ones. Some of the Dutch ones are pretty cool. I couldn't name them for you. I'm not that well versed in it. I do like some of the UK engines. Most noticeably, though, the ones I like are the ones where you can see the side rods and running gear moving. If I can't see the side rods and running gear because they're inside the locomotive, then they're generally not ones I like very much. Moonzer says it was 60 degrees here in Ohio today. Jeez. Daniel says, Alex, always wondered, does your Forney have articulated doors? If you mean by like the fact that they move, yes. So the Forney, I can open the side doors. I can slide open the windows on the Forney. Yeah, I think that's all you can do. You can open the side doors, slide open the windows. And I have the windows slid open, and I have the doors halfway open. Of course, I think I meant to shut them completely, but I don't know. I don't really bother with it, to be totally honest. Hello, Kevin. 4:20, so it is time for tea. That is a really hot lid. Let's go ahead and dump out this water. Move that over there. Give that a stir to get the tea evenly dispersed. I'm so looking forward to these crumpets. Okay. Put the lid back on to keep the tea warm. Kevin says, it was my birthday last Saturday. Oh, wow. Happy birthday. I hope it was a good one. Matrix says, do you live in Seattle? No, actually, I live in Portland, Oregon. But I've been to Seattle a few times since I've moved up here. I really do love Seattle. I mean, to be totally honest, I kind of wish I did live near Seattle. Maybe not in the city itself, because I'm not a big city person. But I'm also not like a person that likes to live out in the sticks, as we call it. So I like to be right in between the big city and the rural areas. And thankfully, where I live is in between Portland and the rural areas. But I would kind of prefer to be closer to Seattle. The weather up there is just a little bit more how I prefer it. Here we get more sunny days than Seattle does, let me put it that way. And I don't like sunny days, believe it or not. So, but yeah, live in Portland. Years of Sea says, the one from 1912 was shorter and had 4 funnels. Yeah, the one from 1961 was larger, 2 winged funnels, and later became SS Norway. Yeah, if you watch my video of my top 10 favorite ocean liners, the original 1912 SS France is on my list of top 10 because it was a beautiful ship, and yeah, I really liked it. Yeah. Matt says, really enjoyed your documentary on Walt Disney's dream. If Walt had lived, what do you think his next project would have been after Epcot? He would have actually retired. So, he was not planning to do anything else. So, his whole plan was that he would build Walt Disney World, which Walt Disney World was originally not meant to be a resort. There was going to be one theme park that emulated Disneyland. Walt had no real dreams for that theme park. He just thought it would just be a clone copy of Disneyland. He really didn't care about developing it. He always felt Disneyland was the original, the flagship. That's how he wanted it to be. As we all know, Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World became the flagship afterwards. But yeah, so the idea was to build Epcot, which was going to be an experimental prototype community of tomorrow instead of a theme park. and then he would have had all the stuff around it built. He would have built his own airport, his own industrial community. There would have been a separate community outside of Progress City, but it would have been all part of Epcot. Because you see, Epcot wasn't just going to be Progress City like a lot of people think it is. Epcot was going to be Walt Disney World. The entire Walt Disney World property was going to be considered the experimental community, Epcot. So, but yeah, he was going to have all these facilities. And I think the completion date was going to be 1975 or something like that, I think. But possibly even sooner, actually. But anyway, yeah, he never got around to it. But he had promised his brother Roy that as soon as Walt Disney World was built, Epcot, the Magic Kingdom, that they would retire. Because they were both getting pretty old, so... Cedar Point says, what's the best ship on the Great Lakes? My opinion is the SS Keewatin. I really like that ship a lot. But, I mean, in other people's opinion, I have no idea. No idea. Let me add some milk to this tea. Little Gamer says, I think a little lake would look cool in the train cam. So there's no room for a lake, but I have a river running through the layout. I don't know if you've seen my other live streams, but I actually move the train cam around each live stream. It's usually in a different spot. So I usually show like different parts of the layout through the train cam. And when it's in the other position, you can actually see the river. It's not completed, but there's a river going to be there. So, but yeah, so there's no room for a lake on my layout. The professor says, Alex, the Queen Mary 2 came to Singapore last 12th of February, but I have forgotten about it. I wanted to see her this year because the last time I've seen her was in 2019. Oh yeah, is that during her, when she goes to Singapore, is that during her world cruise? I know she takes on a world cruise every year. Oh, that tea is amazing. Moonzer says, Alex, what if all the ships like Titanic and Britannic and Lusitania, if they did not sink, would they have been a hotel now or be scrapped? Most likely scrapped. You can almost guarantee it. It is so incredibly rare for a ship to not be scrapped. It is just incredibly rare. It's like finding a four-leaf clover. So, yeah, it's they probably would not have ended up as hotels. The other thing too is I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were wondering, how come the SS United States didn't become a hotel? I had to remind them, I'm like, you have to remember, the Queen Mary was a really unique situation. Well, I guess maybe not that unique when you consider that they tried to do that to the Queen Elizabeth, but that situation wasn't quite the same. Queen Mary had a really unique situation because the people of the city officials of Long Beach, they had connections to the people up in the government of California, and they were able to secure not only land around the Queen Mary for her to stay docked at, so that way she didn't have to pay docking fees, but they also made it so she could receive money. Get this, there is something called the California Tidelands Fund. The Tidelands Fund is a collection of money, like an income, that is brought in from California's oil fracking, the offshore oil fracking that they do. California set up the Tideland Fund because they wanted to make sure that if there was ever something wrong, like an oil spill, or even just the natural coastal regions having issues, that they could use the Tidelands Fund to fix or rebuild or clean up the coastal areas. And so, because of that special relationship some of the city officials had with the California government, they were able to allow something in there for the Queen Mary to be able to receive Tideland funds. That's unheard of. There's almost nothing else like that in the United States when it comes to ships. So it was actually a really unique situation. So if the Queen Mary ever falls into, really bad disrepair like we've seen, they're able to pull money from the Tidelands Fund because the Queen Mary is considered part of the Tidelands. That wouldn't have happened to any other ship. There has been other museum ships or restaurant ships, like such as the SS Princess Louise was in L.A. Harbor. That did not receive Tidelands Fund money. The Queen Mary is the only one. And there was nothing like that for the Queen Elizabeth in Florida. There was nothing. So Queen Elizabeth, whatever she made a profit, that had to go back into the ship. Had to. There was no backup plan. So that's why I tell people, I'm like, the Queen Mary, in the United States, the Queen Mary was a really, really, really unique situation. That's why she's still around. So, it's SS United States, unless it can find a situation that unique, it's going to be very difficult. And the Queen Elizabeth didn't have that same situation, ended up needing to be sold to CY Tung. So, let's see. Hello, Sniper. Jeffrey Charles says, did you hear they are doing a Frasier reboot? Yes, I'm so excited. I've been following up the details on it for the past couple months. I can't wait. The Frasier reboot, they said, the first episodes will probably air in June on Paramount Plus, so I'm really excited. I can't wait. Frasier is one of my favorite shows. Isaiah says, Queen Mary 2 or Queen Elizabeth 2? You mean like my favorite? I guess between the two of them, I would have to say Queen Mary 2. The Queen Elizabeth 2 is really cool, and I have a lot of respect for its history and stuff like that, but the Queen Mary 2, I think, is more beautiful. So I would choose Queen Mary 2. Let's see. Alexander Thomas says, I think they're doing a Nanny reboot with Fran Drescher. Really? Wow, I didn't think they would ever reboot that show. Let's see. J-Rod says, I enjoyed your Queen Mary narration video. Thank you so much. Let's see. Cedar Point Kid says, what scale is your layout in? It is an ON30 scale. So that's technically O scale, narrow gauge, 30 inch. Which means that while it's O scale, it runs on HO scale tracks. So it is a narrow gauge line. Moonzer says, Alex, do you know the... I can't pronounce that. The RMS Queen Elizabeth, do you think it would cool? I think it would look cool, by the way, at one of the... I don't know if I'm having difficulty reading today, but that sounded so mixed up. I didn't understand what you were asking. Oh, I guess you're asking if some shipping line, if it had bought the Queen Elizabeth, would I think that was cool? I don't know. I do believe that ships should have, an expiration date on the seas. I know some people love ships so much, they can't stand the idea of a ship ever retiring. They think a ship should either be at sea or scrapped, which to me is kind of weird. I like the in-between of that, which is having if the ship finishes its time at sea and is no longer profitable enough to keep getting restored, then it should become retired and maybe used for something else where it doesn't have to sail anymore. At least that's what I think of ocean liners. Maybe not like tanker ships or anything, but ocean liners. But yeah, I don't know. The Queen Elizabeth, if it wasn't in Cunard's hands, I don't think it should have gone anywhere else. It's a Cunard ship. It shouldn't be in anybody else's hands. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Matt says, have you heard of the Wedgwood tableware? I have. I think Queen Mary 2 crockery is made exclusively by Wedgwood. It is. They're very nice and expensive pieces. They certainly are. What I really want is... You see, I love using this old set from the Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, but I do recognize that I am afraid that one day I might mishandle it and break something. I am really afraid of that, so I try to be as careful as I can about it. So, but what I want to do is I want to buy Queen Mary 2 crockery. I want to get at least a tea set from the Queen Mary 2. So kind of, I know that they sell it on the ship. And I also have heard stories that if you ask the stewards nicely, the ship will even sell you one of the pieces they're already using. And so, because I've tried looking on eBay, you can get some of the crockery on eBay, but people sell it for ridiculous prices. So, but supposedly the ship does sell versions of it in their gift shop. And so when I do go on the Queen Mary 2, I'm going to try to buy a whole set. But I know that the set they sell has a round teapot, and I don't want the round teapot. They have another version of the teapot that is tall, and it's cylindrical, but with a squared off top. So it's a sharp edge on the top, and it's the whole teapot is cylindrical. I like the way that one looks a lot more, and I'm gonna see, because they don't sell it, I don't think, as part of the set. They use it on the ship, but they don't sell it as part of the set. So I'm going to see if they'll sell me one of those on the ship. So yeah. I am looking forward to that. And then I will retire this stuff. It will still be on display, but I won't use it for tea time. I'll use my new Queen Mary 2 crockery, so that way I don't ever damage or break this stuff through use. Daniel says, do you think when Queen Mary reopens there will be a new era? We're already in a new era. The ship is already more popular than it was when she closed. And that has a lot to do with public opinion. I think me and a bunch of YouTubers, we all started producing a lot of content on the Queen Mary in order to try to drive up more interest in the ship. When I first started doing Queen Mary update videos, I would get maybe 10,000 views on a video. But I think my last Queen Mary update video before this one, the one I did in November or December, I can't remember. That one got like well over 100,000 views. I think that really shows that there's been a lot more interest building in the Queen Mary. In fact, the city of Long Beach has said that they are anticipating a really busy reopening. Like, really busy. That's not something anybody would have expected 3 years ago. Everybody thought the Queen Mary was vanishing into obscurity, but honestly, it's been people online, on YouTube, just generating discussions about the ship. And then, of course, all the bad publicity. There's a saying, no publicity is bad publicity. Or wait, no. How's it go? Well, anyway, you get what I mean. And so even the bad publicity about the Queen Mary has generated a lot of discussion on the ship worldwide. And so I think there is a new age already. The only thing is we have to keep the momentum going. We can't rest on our laurels and hope that, oh, well, now the ship's fine, so things will go. The ship will always be in need of restoration work, always. And we got to keep up on it, or else the ship will fall behind like she did. And, and we got to keep the show fresh, as Walt Disney would say. We got to keep the show fresh. We got to have new reasons for people to come aboard all the time. You can't just sit there and and think you did a good job, and then you're done for the rest of for the rest of eternity. There's always something that needs to be done. So, Sniper says, I saw a murder hornet today. Oh, geez, I do not want to run into one of those. Let me have one of these things, because I am so hungry. So I made crumpets from scratch. I do this on occasion, not very often. But yeah, I am so excited. For those who are wondering what a crumpet is, if you're American, you can picture an English muffin, but instead of it being so chewy and so chewy, it's more like the texture of a pancake, but it tastes like an English muffin. And you can serve it with butter and jam, but I don't have jam, so I did butter and honey. So, yeah. Delta asked me if I've heard of some train. I haven't heard of that train before. Sniper says, I'm allergic to murder hornets. A lot of people are. In fact, most people are. That's one of the reasons why they call them murder hornets. Is because there is a good chance that you'll die from being stung by them. Carter Asher says, do you like Britannic 2000? I've never heard of it. Dreden says, my father sailed on the QE2 in the 1990s. That's pretty cool. I kind of wish I had sailed on the QE2 at some point, but I was too young. Let's see. Tyler says, here's another tidbit if you found the last one interesting. About mass immigration. On April 14th, 1832, a full 80 years before Titanic, a man named Brigham Young was baptized into the church I'm in. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Brigham Young was the head of the Mormon faith. He was a prophet, wasn't he? He was kind of like a modern-day prophet. Yeah. I know one little fun fact about Brigham Young, which was that when he died, he was carried by pallbearers through the town all the way to the cemetery. I believe they made a straight line, and then a left, and then a right into the cemetery. That's one little fact I know. That's like the only thing I know about Brigham Young, pretty much. The professor says, I always dreamed to travel on the Queen Mary 2 from Singapore to New York on her world cruise. I would love to take a world cruise on the Queen Mary 2. That would be really neat, but boy, those prices. Oh my gosh. Who knows? Maybe after I do my first voyage on the Queen Mary 2, I go to the UK, maybe that'll become really, really popular, and the vlogs I do will be really, really popular. And maybe I can save up for a world cruise. That'd be kind of cool. And then just travel the world and take video of the historic places and stuff we visit. Talk about ships. Talk about, do live streams on the ship if it's possible. Do live streams on the ship if it's possible. Matt, I don't know if your question's directed at me, but he asked that if I could design my own ship, what would it be like? A liner, a cruise ship? What would it have on it? How would it look? What would be the target customer? I tried designing the look of a ship once, not a like any. I don't really think about that stuff. Because I'm not very good at it. But I did try to draw, you know, I tried to draw what I thought would be a profitable ocean liner that tries to look like a classic liner. And I hated the way it looked, so I threw it away. But I had no other, like, I thought, okay, it would have this feature, it would have that feature, it would have this feature. I narrowed it all down, and then I drew it out, and I didn't like the way it looked, so I threw it away, and I was like, okay, well, I'm done. I did my job, and I didn't like how it turned out, so I'm done. But yeah, I'm not very good at that stuff. Ron says, we drove over to San Pedro to see the Queen Mary 2 in 2006. Wow, that was great. I also have the news article on her visit and passed the Queen Mary as a salute to her, looking at my photos now. I have a photo of when the Queen Mary 2 came into the harbor and saluted the Queen Mary. I actually also... There's video online of it. It's very poor quality video, but there's video online of it. Actually, maybe I'm thinking of the Queen Elizabeth one is the video. I have the photo of the Queen Mary 2 and the Queen Mary saluting each other, but not the video of it. Top impressive lines to say Alex of a video about ocean liners that caught on fire. Yeah, that could be that's always a possibility. Link says, hello from Stockholm, Sweden. Just wanted to stop by, say hello, and keep on making great videos. Thank you so much. I will. Dreden says, Alex, if Titanic and Britannic didn't sink, and if the Oceanic 3 was built... Oh, boy. I know where this question's going. Do you think White Star would have stayed in business and not be bought by Cunard? You know, to be totally honest, I've been asked a similar question to that before, and the answer is I just don't know enough about the situation to be able to comment on it, because it's not as simple as having those 3 ships around. There was more to it. There was a lot more to the situation, and so I don't know enough about it to be able to answer that. Matt says, Queen Mary should honestly pay YouTubers a commission or something. They've received a lot of free publicity from efforts like yours, Alex. I don't agree. Because the thing is I would rather have that money go back into the ship. I don't want that money. You know, if the people at Queen Mary said, hey, let's give you a little commission for, you know, helping to, you know, to boost the word and get the word out and stuff like that, I'd say just keep it. Put it back into the ship, because the ship really still needs it, you know. And I would look down upon any YouTuber that took that money as well. If there was another YouTuber out there that said, yeah, I'll take the check, I would look very far down upon them for doing that. The ship really needs that money. It needs to be restored. Maybe if it was in a really, really pristine condition, then I might feel less strongly about taking the money and just take it, you know. But yeah. But I know what you're saying. Alex on the seaside of Bulgaria says, do you think the Queen Mary was still going to be that famous if she was built after World War II? That's a good question. Probably not. No. If she was built after World War II, I don't think she would be as famous. Because she really built her whole reputation in the 1930s and the 1940s. That was the whole reputation. That was everything that, you know, you know, what am I trying to say? When people went aboard the Queen Mary in the 1950s and 1960s, and they chose Queen Mary over other ships that could have possibly been cheaper, they did so because of the Queen Mary's famous reputation. It was a historic vessel even then. So yeah, I don't think she would have. No, and she probably would have been scrapped if she had been built after World War II. Then when the time came, she would have been scrapped. I don't think anybody would have saved her because she wouldn't have had that big reputation that made her such a draw. You know. Moonzer says, do you think it would be cool if Cunard could build a replica RMS Queen Elizabeth and put it in Port Everglades, Florida as a tourist attraction, even knowing it would not be the original? I think it would not be very profitable. Let me put it this way. If someone rebuilt the Titanic and put it in Port Everglades, Florida, it would be a smashing success. And the reason why is because even though it would not be the original ship, the ship is so famous, everybody wants to see it. Queen Elizabeth, unfortunately, is not that famous. You know, Queen Elizabeth is less famous than Queen Mary. And look at Queen Mary struggling to pull in the numbers, you know. So, yeah, it would not be successful at all. And then even less so because it's not original. So people would be like, well, then why are we going to visit this ship that's not original? It's based off a ship that's not very famous, you know. Most people who know of the Queen Mary don't even know that there was a Queen Elizabeth, you know. Jeremy Fowler says, just wanted to pop in Boston to say I love your Queen Mary World War II video as well as Walt's Railroad. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Jeremy. That's really nice of you to say. Isaiah says, how would I build an ocean liner in today's world? I don't know, but it would be very, very difficult. I don't even know how to build one. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you how to build an ocean liner. Matt C says, live streams on board a ship. An awesome idea. I could see you doing this. If you had quite a few subscribers, the ships might be happy to have you on board and maybe even discount the fare. A lot of people have been like, oh, Alex, you know, you could be a speaker aboard the Queen Mary too, get a discounted fare. First, I don't think they discount your fare for being a speaker. I looked into it. I couldn't find anything on that. They do let you be a speaker, but that's a volunteer position. But even if they did discount my fare for being a speaker on the ship, I don't want to be a speaker. So... Dino says, do you have any train museums near where you live? It depends on what you mean by near, because, you know, to me, near is like within 2 hours drive. So yeah, there are a few within a 2 hours drive. But, I mean, if you're going to say like within like a 15-minute drive, no, there's none. So, Ryan says, if I end up going to the Queen Mary, I'm going to do a narrated tour. I'm working on a video right now. Hopefully will attract more with my edits. Nice. Top impressive line says, Alex, will some of the revenue that you get from your membership go towards your trip to the UK? From my membership? Oh, like on my channel? No, the revenue I get from my membership goes towards keeping a roof over my head. So, no. If you want to donate towards my UK trip, you have to go to my GoFundMe page, which the link is in the description below, and you can learn about the UK trip and everything that's going to be and why I'm doing it and all that stuff. And so you can go there and donate towards it. But if you send me like a super chat or a super thanks on my channel, or you Venmo me money, or you join the membership of the channel, all that money goes towards the apartment. So it doesn't go towards my UK trip. That being said, if there's money left over from paying off my expenses, then that gets put into my own fund for going to the UK. Hello, Mike. Mike says, I'm never getting notifications from you anymore. You know, that is a common problem on YouTube. I am subscribed to so many channels, and I never get notifications from them, even though I've got the notifications turned on. And yeah, it's just really ridiculous. Professor says, Alex, to be honest, I hate air travel, and most people think I'm weird. I said it's because of airplanes. There were only one ocean liner left in service. Yeah, that is very true, you know. I don't like air travel either. If I had the choice, I would go by ship. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Dreden says, do you think the Queen Mary 2 will be saved like the Queen Mary in QE2? It's not very likely, only because, you know, the Queen Mary and QE2, they were saved because of the reputation they built as, you know, troop ships. You know, there's a certain reverence people have for ships that, you know, do some kind of service for their country. Queen Mary 2 has not done that, and most likely will not ever do that. So it is very, very unlikely that the Queen Mary 2 will be saved after she's done with her service. That being said, it'd be kind of cool if she was, because she's almost like a fully equipped modern day hotel. I mean, she is getting older, but, you know, she's got all the same amenities people would expect today out of a hotel without the need to redesign a lot of it. You know, QE2 had to get a lot of redesigns. Queen Mary had to get a lot of redesigns. So, the Queen Mary 2 probably wouldn't have to. Braden Edwards, I don't know the exact number, but the portholes on the Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth were a little over 2,000 portholes. Loser says, Alex, have you ever thought about going to see the RMS Queen Elizabeth's anchor in California? Yes, I have thought about it. But whether or not I'll be able to go is a whole other ordeal. Ken says, Alex, how similar is the Queen Mary's current mast rigging similar to the original? Also, did the ship have a wireless telegraph like the older ones? Queen Mary's rigging is still pretty similar to how it used to be. There are a lot of things missing. Part of the rigging is actually the antennas. So, I wish I had a model that I could show you, but I don't have a model. And I can't pull up a picture for you guys. So, but there are certain things from the rigging that's missing, only because they used to be part of, like, you know, the wireless system. But even then, they've replicated some of that. So, like, on the forward funnel, between the mast and the forward funnel, they still have, they have replicas of the antenna wires, the cables that connected, and those were the antennas. So, but, I mean, there's one or two things missing here and there, but they pretty much replicated it, yeah. Pretty much. As for your second question, did the ship have a wireless telegraph like older ones? Yes, the ship did have a wireless telegraph, but mostly they operated through radio and stuff because that was kind of the thing at the time. So they used radio transmission to contact each other. But they did have a wireless just in case they needed, you know, just in case. Link says, if I remember correctly, some rich Australian talked about building a Titanic 2. Granted, he also talked about building a real-life Jurassic Park. Yeah, his name, I forget his name, but yeah, that plan was canceled back in, like, 2021. So, yeah, it's not going to happen. Ken says, has the rigging been inspected for corrosion? Yes, but the thing is that the concern actually is not about the rigging. The rigging itself doesn't have any corrosion issues. It's the crow's nest that's in pretty bad shape. The crow's nest on the mast is in terrible shape, but they've inspected the mast itself, and the mast is fine. It's just the crow's nest that's just not doing very well. So they're not concerned about the rigging on the ship right now. And I've seen photographs and stuff. Really, the only thing is just the crow's nest on the mast is just in terrible shape. Daniel says, Alex, why in some photos was the first funnel of the Queen Mary surrounded by cloth? You're probably talking about photos in Long Beach. When you see a photo of the Queen Mary in Long Beach with her funnels surrounded by tarps, that's because the funnels were getting repainted when that photo was taken. Moser says, Alex, is there plans to make RMS Queen Mary a casino, but still keep the hotel aspect and museum concept? It was considered, but they immediately dropped that plan. And the reason why is because they didn't want to destroy the dignity of the ship. There is actually something to be said that the people who've always operated the Queen Mary have, to some degree, had a certain respect for the ship. And so, yeah, it's part of that is that they didn't want to violate the dignity of the ship, a ship that's been through World War II, a ship that has meant so much to people, a ship that carried refugees away from, you know, the destruction of the Nazi Party and Hitler, you know, that kind of stuff, you know. And then, of course, the fact that there was well over 30 different famous English and American artists who contributed to the beauty of the Queen Mary. They didn't want to mar all of that with some tacky casino. So yeah, that's why the ship will never have a casino on it. Is because they don't want to destroy the dignity of the ship. Top impressive line. Yeah, I think I've heard something about that. Ron says, billions of dollars to build an ocean liner. I'm building a Lego ocean liner that will be finished in 2024. I hope 8 feet long. Wow, that's a pretty big one. Wow. Moonzer, the only SS Columbia I know of is at a Disney park, and it's not a real ship. It's designed to look like the Queen Mary, but it is in Tokyo Disney Sea. That is the only SS Columbia I know of, but it's not a real ship. It's a building designed to look like a ship. Dreden says, did they take anything from Queen Mary for Queen Mary 2? Yes. They took one of the Queen Mary's original whistles. So the Queen Mary had 3 whistles, 2 on the front funnel, the forward funnel, and then 1 on the middle funnel. The middle funnel whistle was already removed, and it was on display inside the ship. And what happened was when Cunard had plans to build the Queen Mary 2, they wanted to reuse one of the original whistles from the Queen Mary. So they talked to the people at Queen Mary, and they were able to secure a long-term loan for Queen Mary's 3rd whistle. The whistle was not operable at the time, so Cunard had to send the whistle, I believe, back to the company that makes the Typhon whistles. I think they're called Cockham Sonics. Cockham Sonics is the manufacturer of Queen Mary's original whistles, and they're still around. And they sent one of them back to Cockham Sonics. Cockham Sonics used their blueprints to refresh and restore the whistle back to operating condition. And now that whistle is back on, it is not back on, it is on the Queen Mary 2 currently, and it is on the opposite side of a replica whistle that is actually designed to be more to standard. The Queen Mary's original whistle sounds at 55 hertz, but the modern requirement is that whistles cannot be below 75 hertz. So the replica whistle is at 75, while the original whistle is still at 55 and is used only as kind of like a showpiece, really. So, yeah, and when the Queen Mary 2 eventually has to retire, Cunard will have to return the original Queen Mary whistle back to the original Queen Mary in Long Beach. So, pretty fun little thing. But another interesting thing about that whistle is, as far as I know, it is the only steam whistle to have been the only Cunard steam whistle to have been carried or sailed aboard 3 Cunard ships. It was on the Queen Mary, and then it was transferred to France aboard the QE2, and then it was placed on the Queen Mary 2. So it's been on 3 different ocean liners so far. It's another little fun fact about it. Moonzer says, do RMS Queen Elizabeth's telegraphs still exist, or do they get them from the wreck? I don't know. Kevin, yeah, Clive Palmer, that's the guy. Ozzy says, will they rebuild the Crow's Nest? It's not a high priority thing. So it's not really a question of whether or not they will. It's really more a question of when. So yeah, it's not a high priority thing at all. Dino says, are there any volunteer groups that are helping maintain the Queen Mary or gathering donations to help maintain the ship? As of this moment, the only organization that has talks with the city of Long Beach over helping to restore the ship, but not yet doing so, would be QMI Restore the Queen. So they are the only 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to restoring the ship. But right now they are still in talks with the city of Long Beach over restoration work and how they can help, but it's not official yet. I don't think they are currently collecting money for the restoration work because it has not been solidified quite yet. Professor says, I think I remember that there were plans to make Queen Mary Island a few years ago. Yes, there were plans, but I think after the company went bankrupt, people kind of realized those plans were actually kind of a fraud plan to try to get more money. You see, the company that came up with it, Urban Commons, the 2 head executives of the company, I believe the CEO and the CFO, they were arrested for laundering money from the company. So a lot of people believe that the Queen Mary Island idea that they had was really more about laundering more money for that. So it is really sad. Yeah. Brian says, talking about ship whistles, have you seen the video on YouTube from a few years back when they blew Titanic's whistle with pressurized air so they didn't do more damage to it? Yes, indeed. And I've seen a video where they blew Normandy's whistle on steam. So that was pretty cool. So there's quite a few of those. But yeah, you should check out the one where they blew Normandy's whistles on steam. Because Normandy had two different types of whistles. Regular barrel steam whistles. And she also had basically what is the equivalent of a steam horn whistle, like the Queen Mary did. So yeah, they were able to blow the original barrel whistles on steam. David says, I'm making a big model railroad in my playroom. Nice job on your model railroad. Thank you very much, and good luck on your model railroad. Okay, time for more tea. Thankfully, it's still warm. Alright. So yeah, lots of plans for this year. I'm hoping it all goes smoothly. I really want to go back to the Queen Mary. That might be closer to summer or fall, possibly. And then I'm hoping by fall of this year I'll have all the money that I need saved up for my trip aboard the Queen Mary 2 to the UK. So hopefully all that goes well. If you're interested in helping me out with that by any chance, then the link is in the description below for my GoFundMe page on that. But nobody is obligated to donate towards that. Top impressive line. I will not be making any videos about the United States lines, or the America lines, or I don't know what they call them. See, I don't even care. Yeah, the American steamships, I will not be making videos about those. They just aren't, fortunately, I'm not interested. Just not interested. Daniel says, hey Alex, what is another Western you like besides Tombstone and Dances with Wolves? There aren't any. Sorry. Those are the only ones I like. Professor says, what's the menu for your dinner tonight? I don't know yet. I really, really don't know. I didn't get that far. I didn't think that far ahead today, so after the tea time ends, I'll have to think about that. David says, like how you made a cliff face for your service track. The rock wall. Yeah. I'm hoping that eventually I'll be able to get back to working on the model railroad. I haven't had any time the last couple of weeks. Right now I'm working on a documentary about the RMS Queen Elizabeth. And originally I thought it was one of those videos that would take me about a week to make. But actually, it's taken me a week just to put the the script together. And I'm still not done yet. So I'm kind of realizing this is a video that's going to take a long time. But something you guys can look forward to on Friday is that Friday, March 3rd, the new version of Titanic Honor and Glory is coming out to the public, so people can actually download that and play it. I've had the incredible opportunity of playing it already. Some of the folks at Titanic Honor and Glory have given me an early version so I could test it out and try it, and it's really, really, really cool. I love it. And so I am filming some stuff so that way on Friday there will be videos available for you guys to see. And I'm hoping that Friday I can do a live stream of me exploring version 2.0 for everybody to see. So, yeah. Brian says, I doubt we will ever know, but do you think there's a different sound from a whistle being blown with steam and air pressure? There is a difference. But the difference is not as big as people believe. The difference mainly is that with steam, you have a really dull hiss from the steam escaping, the whistle. It's just the sound of steam. But ultimately, the sound should be the same. Now, there is a little bit more of a difference also because the steam pressure produces warmer temperatures. The steam warms up the whistle, which can change or alter the sound. Not by much, by the way. But it can, because also of the... So, they say the density of the steam is also what causes a difference in sound. But, you know, I have heard what the Queen Mary should sound like on steam, and then I've heard it in real life what it sounds like on air. And the difference is actually not that different. Mainly, there's just a slightly different tone, and then there's the hiss of the steam. Let's see. Professor says the THG game needs a powerful PC to run it, right? Not anymore, no. In previous versions, it did take a powerful PC to do it, but you don't really need that anymore. I would still check with the minimum requirements on their page, but otherwise it shouldn't require as powerful of a PC as it used to, because they really I don't even know the terminology. They made it easier for more computers to run it. And so I was playing it on my computer the other day, and everything was loading in lightning fast because of the new method that they used. So it's really cool. Gino, thank you for the donation. Great job doing these videos. They really help me pass the time, and I always learn something new. You're welcome. Thank you so much for the donation. Top impressive line. I actually have heard of SS Archimedes because I was doing research on propellers on ships. David says, I love the full documentary you did on the Walt Disney's Railroad. Planning in the future to buy a locomotive and restore it, and I'm going to make a railroad on a farm like Ward Kimball. Awesome. Brian, thank you so much. Yes, optimized it. They optimized the game. All right. Forgot to add milk to this. So I was really surprised by the flavor when I tasted that. Alright. Wow, I already got through all the comments. Jeez. These crumpets are really sticky because of all the honey. The professor says, thanks for the info because my PC was sweating when I tried to download or even open the app. Top impressive line. No, I'm not doing that. No. David, besides the Sylvania, it would be a 440. Daniel says, wow, almost 40K. Congrats. Thank you. I should be reaching 40K sometime in the next month or so. So that'd be pretty cool. A lot of channels usually explode after 40K. Usually 40K is the threshold, and all of a sudden things speed up after that. So I'm kind of hoping that that happens, because I would like to have more subscribers. I make all these videos, and then, you know, sometimes they just don't get that many views, and it's just nice to, you know, for the stuff to feel like it's going to use. People are watching it. People are learning something, you know. So hopefully. Chris says, hey, Alex, I liked your video about the history of cabooses. Thank you. I'm probably going to have to redo that, though, because it is very outdated and very incorrect, so... Dina says, are you researching places in the UK to find great places to do video and chat about? Yes, absolutely. Actually, I've already got the list down. Part of the list you can find on my GoFundMe page. So in the link in the description below is the link for the GoFundMe page. You go to that. The GoFundMe page explains everything that I'm going to be doing. Well, not everything. It explains the purpose of everything, and then explains examples of the things that I've got on my list. But I've got a huge list of things to get to. When the time comes, we're going to be scheduling all of it, so that way we make the most of all the time that we have in the UK and in Paris. So yeah, I do highly suggest, if anybody wants to know what I'm doing, to go check that out. And I should probably update that page soon anyway, to try to reflect some more of the things that we plan to see. Hello, Pete and Harley. David says, I like your custom railroad shed. Thank you so much. That was actually one of the more difficult projects I've ever done. Top Impressive Line says, Alex, you said you would go from 35K to 40K in 2 years, but looks like you're going from 35K to 40K in 3 months, especially since you went from 30 to 35 in about 6 months. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict. You know, sometimes you just post a video that becomes super, super, super popular, and the next thing you know, you get all these subscribers. But then sometimes you post a bunch of videos, and you hardly get any subscribers because, I don't know, maybe it just doesn't appeal to them. I don't know. So, it's really hard to predict. To be honest, if people were to ask me, Alex, how long do you think it will be till you get to 40K? I mean, I might say a month. It could be a week. You know, it could be, you know, 3 months. Could be 6 months. But the thing is, I truly just don't know. I truly don't know. It just really depends, you know. So, Eternal Travels. Hello, Eternal Travels. Daniel says, Alex, I really wish I owned a house with a Santa Fe caboose, like my own room, because every time I go to school, I see a caboose on the other side of the house. Other side of a house. Okay, I was like, where did the caboose come from? Pretty neat. Yeah, I once used to wish that, like, well, I still kind of wish that I could build, like, a tiny house out of a caboose. But then the logistics of it just seem overwhelming and daunting, so I'm like, I don't want to do it. Chris, well, those aren't the only two types of cabooses that are out right now. There are others. Like, I received tons of comments after I made that video, and I really wanted to delete the video, to be totally honest, because it was so inaccurate, and people were dragging me through the mud on that video, and I just did not like the way it made me feel. And so, but essentially, there are cabooses everywhere for every type of industry that are still around and still in use today. And in fact, the other day I saw one at the end of a logging train. I was waiting at a crossing light, and we have a logging train that goes by, and at the end was a caboose. So yeah, you know, they're still around, multiple different things. Ryan says, your videos are amazing. Your video titled Queen Mary to Sail Again got me into her. It wasn't the first video I saw from you, but it was the one that made me enthusiastic about her. Thank you. I need to rewatch that again. I kind of forgot what I even did in that video. But what's funny is I can always tell when there are people who have not actually watched the video, because there were people who, like, commented. They were like, this is so cool. I'm so excited that they're getting the ship to sail again. And I'm like, you didn't watch the video, did you? Because that's not what it's about, you know? So it's always funny. There's people who they read the title of a video and then they don't bother to watch the video. So, but that's not like a complaint. That's just, it's funny. I laugh when I see stuff like that on YouTube, because it happens a lot. It happens more often than you think it would. People just read the title and then leave a comment, and then they skip to another video. So it's kind of weird. Weird little society quirk we have. Chris says, you should keep your video up on cabooses. Yeah, but if I make a better one, then I can't leave that one behind. What a lot of people don't know about me was my channel started in 2016. I made a lot of Disneyland videos in 2016 and 2017. None of those videos are currently on the channel anymore, because they were so low quality that people who tuned into my channel because they saw the video would be like, oh, this video is terrible. I can't watch this. It's awful. Because it really was awful. And they'd be like, I can't watch this. And then they would never come back to the channel again, even though I had better quality stuff years later. Because they didn't know. They thought this is this, and this is what the whole channel's about, you know. So when I create a new video that replaces an older one, because I want to increase the quality, I have to remove the old video, or else it will actually continue to drag the channel down. So that's what happened. That's what happened especially with my Disneyland Railroad video. I got rid of, it was a 4-part series that I recently turned into a single documentary video, and I got rid of the other 4 because what was happening was people were tuning into the first one, and then they didn't even know there was a second, third, and fourth episode to it. So they were like, they saw the first one, they're like, oh wow, that's great, you know, and they're like, oh, I wish, you know, can't wait to you make more. And I'm like, there's links everywhere for the newer ones. So in a way, when you create YouTube videos, you kind of have to foolproof everything. You have to make it so it is way more than easy for people to understand that you know, what you're watching is the entirety of it. So I've learned not to do multiple part series anymore. That was something I used to do. I would split a video up into multiple parts to make it easier to produce, but then people wouldn't come back to see the other parts because they would think that there wasn't more to see, or they thought, oh, I'll wait to watch the rest, and then they would forget and never come back. So yeah. So I've learned, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to make solid videos, one part, all the way through. Yeah. Top impressive line. Unfortunately, I can't answer your question because I try not to show favoritism on YouTube. Again, these are all like my colleagues, basically. They're, whether I know them or not, they're people that I work alongside, and I don't want to create an atmosphere of favoritism. So I don't answer questions like that. Alfred says, what do you think of the Turbinia speeding past warships and ocean liners? It was pretty cool. I mean, when I made that video about the Turbinia, I was just really excited to do that scene where I talked about the day that the Turbinia was kind of sailing past all the stuff. So it was an exciting scene to do because it was an interesting little thing. But the trick was trying to get that scene to be kind of like exciting to watch, even though you were watching photographs. So yeah, that was an interesting challenge. David Ramirez, no, I haven't heard of them, no. Doc says, Alex, do you know much about the Britannia yacht depiction in the Crown? Was the depiction in the Crown ring true? Mostly, yeah. So yeah, I do know about the Royal Yacht Britannia. I did a lot of research into it. In fact, in one of my early decision-making thoughts about where me and my friend would go when we got to the UK, originally I wanted to go to Edinburgh, so that way we could see the Royal Yacht Britannia, but unfortunately it didn't make it into our plans. But the depiction of the Royal Yacht Britannia in the Crown is actually pretty accurate, and part of the reason why is because they actually filmed on the Royal Yacht Britannia. So all the exterior shots were filmed on Britannia, and then some of the interior shots were done on Britannia, while other interior shots were done in a studio or in another yacht of some kind. So, but for the most part, all the exterior shots was shot on the Britannia in Edinburgh. And, but yeah, it is very, very accurate. Very, very accurate. The only thing I would say is the main quarters, the Queen's quarters, like her lounge and everything, it's a 2-room space. That area was done on a set, I believe, and the set doesn't look very much like the original room on the ship. And maybe part of the reason why is because the set is a really big set, but the room in real life is not quite as big. It's almost as big, but not quite as big. But yeah, it's very, very, very accurate. Yeah, I like it. But I have not seen very much of season 5, though. I know that there's a lot of scenes on season 5 that take place on Britannia, but I have not seen season 5. I started watching it, and then I realized like most of the season was going to be about, you know, Charles and Diana, and I really didn't want to watch it. So I was like, all right, whatever. I was a fan of The Crown up until season 5. Transit Biker says, hello, Alex, what's on the plate? So we had crumpets on here. I ate them all. They were very delicious. So compliments to the chef, which was me. And then on this plate, I have my McVitie's. Sorry, I forgot the names. I had to look in the bottom of the biscuit to look. McVitie's, yeah. These ones are my favorite. They're the dark chocolate covered McVitie's. I would dip them in the tea, but I drank all the tea. Chris, you'll have to forgive me. I am not very well versed in trains or locomotives that are past the year 1900. So I honestly don't know what those locomotives are. Ken says, Alex, do you have a guesstimate as to when we can make Queen Mary hotel reservations? I'm planning on going mid-April, pending the ship's opening, then taking a ferry to Catalina from Long Beach. Right now, there is no guesstimation, because before we can even guesstimate when the ship will open, the final pieces, the pumps, need to be installed. And that is currently happening right now, but we don't know when the end date will be. And then lastly, the boilers and, well, the emergency generator I think is already installed, but the boilers need to be finished and being installed before we can even guesstimate when the ship will reopen, because the ship has to pass inspection. So one of the reasons why they can't open it yet is because it doesn't meet the safety requirements to be allowed by the Inspector General to allow it to be open. So first those things need to be completed, then we can kind of guesstimate from there, but that also depends if they pass their inspection. That's why they haven't put out any official reopening date yet, because, you know, sometimes you think you're going to pass and then the inspector says nope. So, yeah. Alfreda sounds awesome. Chris says, one of my favorite books is Santa Fe Motive Power. Okay. Top impressive line. I might eventually, someday, possibly, maybe, do a video on SS France. But like I was saying earlier in the live stream, it's not highly likely because I'm not much of a fan of ocean liners that were built past World War II. I mostly like ocean liners that are before World War II. So those are most likely the ones you will see. But yeah, I can't promise that I will make a video on SS France from 1960. The Ocean Channel, sorry, I don't know what the Sewol disaster is. It doesn't ring a bell, I'm sorry. S-Mac Diesel says, my next door neighbor cruised on the Queen Mary during the 1950s. Oh, that's pretty cool. I kind of wish I lived back then so I could travel aboard the Queen Mary, you know? Only 1,004 tons. Caractacus pot. Sorry, that name I have a difficulty saying. It says, any ghost experienced on the Queen Mary, that ship is spooky in person. Gosh, every time, every live stream we end up talking about ghosts on the Queen Mary. In all my life visiting the Queen Mary, I only thought I saw something once, and that was down in the propeller, what do you call them? The shaft alley, propeller shaft alley. I thought I saw something in the corner of my eye once, but that's about it. I've never seen anything else on the ship. Does the ship spook me? Because I think some people have asked me, does the ship spook me? Not really. I felt so comfortable on the ship. Well, okay, maybe once I did feel a little bit weird. I was on main deck. I was taking the camera, panning it around in a complete circle. I wanted a 360 view of main deck. And I did feel weird, like I was being watched. But I chalked it up to just being alone, you know? Sometimes when you're alone, you're not used to the feeling of other people not being there around you, especially in a public venue like the Queen Mary. So, but I mean, otherwise, I mean, I don't think so. And the other thing too is I try to discourage the idea that there's any evil spirits on the ship, because I know, you know, there's a lot of hype built up around, you know, the mischievous or sometimes evil entities aboard the ship. There's no evil entities aboard the Queen Mary. Absolutely not. You know, but yeah, I can't say I have any real ghost experiences on the ship. I really can't. But I do know when I stay on the ship, I want to... I talked to my friend, because my friend Chris... We, you know... Individually, we can't afford a room on the Queen Mary. But if we share a room together, we can afford it. So I told him, I was like, you know, if we do this, I want to set up a night camera. So that way we can see if there's any, like, ghost activity on the ship or whatever. So he was like, yeah, that sounds cool. So... I might have a friend who's willing to let me borrow his night vision camera, and then I'll set that up all night, see if we can... I'll try, we'll see, because setting up an all-night night vision camera is not as easy as it sounds. So I'll see what I can do, just to see if I capture anything, but I honestly really doubt we'll capture anything. I do believe in ghosts. I do believe that, you know, the Queen Mary might be a little bit haunted, but the thing is I do not believe it is nearly as haunted as people make it out to be. There is a million explanations for the stuff that people see on the Queen Mary. I've even seen some stuff and I'm like, okay, there's plenty of explanation behind that. I've watched lots of YouTube videos with these paranormal investigators going around the ship. I'm getting chocolate all over my fingers. Going around the ship, and they're like, oh, my bathroom door just opened. And I'm like, yes, but you're on the port side of the ship. The ship is listing 2 degrees to port, so your bathroom door is going to open unless you have it locked in place. You know, so, you know, it's things like that where I'm kind of like, you know, I can debunk a lot of the stuff that happens on the Queen Mary. I don't believe it's nearly as haunted as people think it is. Ocean Channel says it was the Korean ferry that sank. Oh, yes. Yeah, I know that one. That was a really sad story. That was really, really sad. But I don't want to talk about that because I don't like talking about sad things. It makes me so sad. And I can't do it. I can't do it. Alfredo says, Alex, have you tried a root beer float? Yes. I used to like root beer floats when I was a kid. The only reason why I don't have root beer floats anymore is because it makes the root beer go flat really, really quickly. So I just can't do it. It just makes the root beer flat. But I do like root beer floats. Yeah. Oh, see you later, Matsy. Tyler says, Alex, to make it clear, I enjoy your videos regardless of quality. You say that now, but you haven't seen my original videos. My original videos were terrible. The quality was so bad, and I was not very good at public speaking back then. It was just, oh good lord. It was like you watch those videos and you're just like, oh god, open a window because this stinks. So yeah, you say that now, but you haven't seen the original videos. Sniper says, my name is Alex too. Awesome. Boop GT says, has the Queen Mary ever took on water? Yeah, one time when the Queen Mary, this was during World War II, she was on her way transporting about just over 11,000 troops. They were on their way to the Firth of Clyde in Scotland. And as they approached the mainland, the ship has to be escorted by destroyer or by just another escort ship because the Queen Mary needs to slow down as it gets closer to land. And when the Queen Mary slows down, that's when she's most vulnerable because she can outrun enemies when she's at full speed, but, when she has to slow down, she becomes vulnerable. So her escort was HMS Curacao. And yeah, she accidentally collided with Curacao because of a mistake that both the captain of the Curacao made and the captain of the Queen Mary made. So they both collided. Queen Mary sliced through Curacao, killing 300 of the men on board. The only damage that happened to the Queen Mary was to the very, very bow stem of the ship, but the watertight bulkhead behind that damage kept the water from rushing further into the ship. But technically, you can say that the very, very front compartment of the ship was flooded with water. But it was not an easy fix, but it was very minimal damage compared to what could have happened. So that was really the only time. The Queen Mary's never taken on water otherwise. Well, there was another time, but that wasn't due to human accident. So the Queen Mary during World War II, it was December of 1942, was struck by a 92-foot rogue wave that hit her on the starboard side, causing her to list 52 degrees off vertical towards the port side. And when that happened, it had smashed a bunch of the starboard portholes open, flooding a lot of the rooms with seawater. Now, when I say flooding, I don't mean all the way to the top, but washing water through the rooms and corridors. The ship was able to right herself afterwards because the captain ordered the ship to steer into the wave, and so she was able to kind of, you know, to brace for that, and so she righted herself, and that was about it. You know, people did die. People got severely injured. We don't know how many because all that information is kept top secret. Yeah, it was a pretty scary time. We make it sound cool, but it was actually a really scary time for the people on board, because rolling 52 degrees is nearly capsizing angle. That is pretty scary, and most everybody on the ship would have been hurt from that. That is a ridiculous angle for a ship to take on. So, you know, but bless the ship, she righted herself and got, you know, got through the storm. So, Marie, yeah, it would be really nice if they did more 1930s themed events and entertainment that could be done on a scheduled basis so people could attend it. But, you know, we'll see. Alfredo, that's pretty cool that you have a Titanic-style telegraph. That's pretty neat. Transit Biker, I don't really have any interest in the Great Lakes ships. I had an interest in doing a video about the SS Keewatin, but I was unable to find a way to acquire footage of it or take footage of it. So, I had to abandon that idea, so I can't do a video about the Keewatin without footage. Alright, yeah, don't worry, folks. Top impressive line, you especially. I'm not out of ideas. Trust me, I'm not out of ideas. I have 2 years worth of ideas at least already piled up on my plate. The problem is just the ability to get the videos out fast enough. I just don't have that ability. It takes a while to make these videos. So, but yeah, don't worry. Nobody needs to suggest any videos to me. I've got already a huge list that I have to get down one by one. So, yeah. Anyway, but it has been an hour and 53 minutes. And I think the chat's kind of slowing down. So anyway, I am going to get going. I got to figure out what I'm going to do for dinner. But yeah, this Friday, there will be content on the new Titanic Honor and Glory release, the new demo. And then a live stream of me playing the demo as well. So there's a video and then a live stream. Just want to make sure people know that. So I will schedule the live stream either tonight or tomorrow. You'll see like a notification like Friday's live stream, you know, that kind of thing. So you'll see that eventually on there. That way people don't miss the live stream. So yeah. All right. All right. So that seems like it. Transit Biker says, what do you think your top 3 travel video projects are after your UK trip? I haven't considered it. I mean, I don't earn very much money, so the UK trip to me is like the one thing on my travel to-do list right now, because I can't see anything else happening after that. It really, I would have to revisit the idea of traveling after I do the UK trip, because if that, see, the thing is, the UK trip, I could get a lot of videos out of it, but the videos of the traveling itself, who knows? Those might not be very popular, and if it's not, then it might not be worth it for me to travel again outside the country. So, you know, it really depends on how successful the trip is. If it's not successful, then I can't do it again. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping it will be successful. Braden Edwards, next tea time, I don't know for sure, but I always do them either on Sundays or Wednesdays or both. So just check in, look for, you know, a scheduled live stream for that to come in. But if they do happen, they happen on Sundays and Wednesdays. So anyway, folks, thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.